Okay, so that gets you closer to the market cost when you put the grinding. So these are going to look a little artificially low, but it's the change that's important. So cost per day, all right, to feed our cows and make the milk, $3.55 on our good forages, $3.56 on the average, and the low was $3.82. Okay, and then you can see I figured out the purchase price. Okay, cost purchase per day, $2.17, $2.32, and that end one is $2.77. So although our total cost per day is the same, our purchase cost is more. And then you can see the purchase cost per cow per year. You just take that by 365. So if we get these good forages and we can feed roughly, this is 65% forage intake, our purchase cost per cow per year is $793. On our average silages, which is still pretty good, we're feeding diets that are right around, oh, can't see it there, 55% forage, okay, and our cost is $846 per cow per year. And then our diets that are with our below average of silages, we're getting under 50% forage intake, 47%, okay, and we're over $1,000 in purchase costs per cow per year. So one of the things that happens is visit farms and my nutritionist knows how to feed a high forage diet. Well, yeah, most nutritionists can, but they'll only eat so much of it. Okay, if these are the forages, we can feed 64% forage, not a problem. If these are the forages, okay, and we expect to get the same milk out of the cow, all right, you may not be able to do it. We're going to slide through this pretty quick. So these are those three different groups: optimal corn silage and alfalfa, average corn silage and alfalfa, and below average silage. Okay, just assume there's 125 cows on each farm. Here's the predicted milk, okay, per month, and that's the average per day. All right, the income over feed cost. So our break even, the milk price is $17.33. That was the average for 2016. All right, we don't have the 2017 data in yet. All right, and the average break-even cost per cow per day was $7.98. So even the idea would be we were able to, this is the income over feed cost, okay, and green means you were able to cover the break-even cost. So if the milk price is good enough and your break-even cost is good enough, in this scenario, regardless of your forage quality, you were able to pay your bills. Now the difference is, with the optimal corn silage, you're $9.25, okay, income over feed cost versus $8.90 for the average and $8.30. Hey, that's wealth creation, okay, and that's income over feed cost. What's that matter per your herd per year? So our income over feed cost when we have the optimal silages is just a little under $60,000 per year. Average would be 42. Okay, how much money we had left over, and below average was 14. All right, and that's taking into account, we're trying to make, and it's being driven by our expected milk yields, okay, and then our cost to feed the cows. That's enough to get most people over the hump. You know, 60, 40, and $14,000. So if anything, you do not want to be down here. I'm going to skip a couple slides, all right? I did it for triticale with corn silages too. It's a very similar theme, however, with the triticale, and it's more digestible, okay, and supports more milk. All right, so the incomes over feed costs were higher. But roughly the same theme. I used the same parameters, $9.24, $9, and $8.71. So with below average corn silage and triticale, you're actually able to make a little bit more money versus bad haylage. So, and that's not surprising. Bad haylage on farms is usually bad and really has a big negative impact on cows. Bad triticale is bad too, but we seem to be able to tolerate it a little bit. One thing I did was, and this is a repeating theme on farms, is trying to feed high forage diets, okay, when the forage quality is not there, okay, and I get that comment, we're feeding high forage diet, I switched to so-and-so or so-and-so and so-and-so, trying to get the cows to milk more. I just want to show you the limitations and why we don't do it, because I've gotten that comment before. You know, especially last year when we had corn salads that didn't have any ears on. I want to feed 55% forage diet. Can we get the same milk? No, you can't. You know, they can't eat it. They can't eat enough. We're limited by how much the cows can eat. So I went through a model trying to basing it off NDF pounds, because this is basically what decides how much our cows can eat. Okay? And looking at optimal corn silage and critical versus a high forage diet using bad forages, bad corn silage and bad triticale. Okay? So these below average silages have higher NDF, all right? They're less digestible, they have less energy. Right? It's more filling, the cows will eat less. All right? We spent a lot of time talking about trying to get the cows to eat more. So this optimal corn silage triticale diet again was 60% forage, okay? This diet over here with the below average forages was 55% forage. Right? That's the best I could get it to even make it look like a reasonable diet that cows would be able to eat. Okay, couldn't make it work for 60%. They can't eat it, it's too filling. All right, so that gives us a prediction. These cows will still eat 52 pounds of intake. These cows will only eat 47. So then the milk prediction comes out 76 versus 70. And I think this 70 is a bit optimistic, but it takes the diet from averaging right around the good diet or our optimal diet from right around 100 pounds of milk down to 80. And a lot of that's being driven off intake. Okay, the forage quality is a lot of what determines how much they can eat. And we used all these purchase feeds then because we're trying to dilute out and give more energy to this below average group of forages. So our purchase cost per cow per day or per year goes up quite a bit. Actually, excuse me, it goes down. Why does it go down? Because they're eating less. So at the end of the day, hey, my cows are eating less. I'm actually spending less per year or per day to feed them. So on our good silages, our purchase per day was $269. On our bad silages, it was $264. Yeah, because they're eating less. All right? You can imagine what that does to our income over feed cost then. I'm going to go skip through this real quick. These were just the predictions. What happens when we feed high forage diet that's bad or less optimal to cows. All right, this is a prediction. This is milk pounds on the left and days in milk. This is the predictions from our optimal forages. You have these cows that are peaking out right around 120 pounds or so. Most of the cows assimilate between 40 and 80 pounds of milk. All right, excuse me, this is the below average. All right, you get cows up to 120, and again, most between 40 and 80. Our good forages are over here. Okay, what we'd expect from cows getting up to 140 pounds. Most of the herd is between 60 and 100 pounds of milk. Okay, it's how much they can eat. I would have loved to stick more in them, but that's how it goes. This is an energy prediction. Okay, all right. We don't want cows, they should be in positive energy balance by day 50. On this diet, this high forage diet, and fresh cows or startup cows, all right, you're asking for trouble. They cannot eat enough to get the energy to get positive by 50 days in milk. All right, especially this protein. When you have cows that are bottoming out that low, they're in a deficit, 400 to 600 grams of protein a day. You're going to have startup problems, and that ultimately leads to milk. Versus our better forages, our cows are all positive in energy balance and protein balance by day 50. How's it look income over cost? We know it's going to cost less, all right, just on a per cow basis to feed less. But the income over feed cost per year, so our optimal silages, okay, making that 76 pounds, I think we're dying. All right, right around 58,000. It's basically the same number I showed you before. Here's our high forage, below average corn silage, 70 pounds of milk, brings in about 23,000. Okay, so even though you think, hey, my feed bill will be a little bit less, all right, we're putting a little less money out, you're making less money. One of the limitations I get, especially when you visit farms, is we have this much per month to spend on feed. All right, do you see the problem with that? What if they eat more? What if we get them to milk more? All right, your feed bill will probably go up. Now you're trying to control all the things you can, soybean meal, canola meal, keep it, control it as best you can, but you don't feed less. Gonna zip through that. I had some break-even costs, not gonna look at that. I think we're out of time. This was looking at the whole farm picture for the top quality forages and $1,100 dollars purchased per year, and the low quality forages $1,000 because they eat less, and you can see what it does to the break even. Most of it's because of milk production. Even though it costs more to feed with a higher forage diet, they make more money. Profitability mechanics. So this was kind of my big summary. Maximizing your income over feed cost is critical. Don't use cost per hundredweight. Don't use cost per day. Do not limit fresh cows and what they can eat. Okay, you set them up. If they don't hit that peak and then come down the curve, there's no moving them up. After 100 days in milk, they are what they are. Okay, so the fresh pen becomes critical. If we have to overfeed 80% of the herd to get that 20% on the right end, all right, we will do it. A good argument is my herd's milking 60 pounds. I'm not going to feed an 80-pound diet. Why should I? Well, guess what? Every cow that comes in is going to milk 60 pounds, and you will never move them. Okay, you've decided in advance how much your cows are going to milk. Okay, and do not limit income by trying to control expense. High forage diets drive the income over feed cost. The quality is key. The poor forage limits intakes and income over feed cost. And the high in a high forage diet is ultimately determined by you, the forage we get. All right, all these on here were all made roughly the same dry matter. Okay, and inside, so you have all those other factors we didn't even talk about. This was just quality coming out of the field. Okay, increasing your revenue is paramount. In general, the opportunities to decrease costs are really pretty limited. Exceptions are capital purchases or poor forage years. All right, and some of these were macro problems. Okay, that first example we showed you here, they're short a lot of cash. All right. You're not going to solve a macro problem with a micro solution. Okay, well, we'll cut the vet out and only go every other month, or we'll use half as less towels. You're not going to make that up, and your nutritionist probably is going to have difficulty making it up too. So it's a macro problem. Okay, you can't have a little solution and expect it to move it. So those are kind of my big points. That was a lot. I skipped a lot. I slowed down for Dave. I'm sure you're thinking the same thing, but. Any questions? Good. It's lunchtime. So thanks for your attention. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Doc. So I guess we know that if you share your contact information with Dr. Joe Bender, it could be dangerous.